Hello and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you, Matt?
I am pretty good, sir. How are you?
I'm alright. I've literally just finished watching From Dusk Till Dawn. Not for the first time, to be clear. But yeah, looking forward to going through it. When did you first see From Dusk Till Dawn?
Cinema.
Cinema?
Yeah, It was believe it or not, it was a date.
Oh.
It was before I met my wife. It was a girl that was completely out of my league.
Okay.
She was a student. She came from rich parents. Her mum had two pianos.
Jesus
I don't
Christ,
know why
that
detail always sticks in my head about her.
Well, pianos are not cheap. I mean,
exactly. It's like she had two pianos growing up, and you're like,
wow,
that's impressive.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And I thought it was going really well. I took her to the movie. She enjoyed the movie. We went to the pub afterwards. It was all going swimmingly well. And then she informed me that she only really liked very tall, very skinny goth boys, which kind of put me fucking out because I'm a short ass. And back then I wasn't as fat as I am now, but I was still a little chubbier than I'd like. And so that was the end of that one.
Oh damn! Whose idea was the movie?
Mine.
Oh well.
It was
solid choice.
It was yeah. Well, she seemed we were getting on all right.
Yeah.
We'd sort of had drinks before.
Mm.
But yeah, it was. I think it was a sort of no, this is what I date. Sorry. It's like, oh well, thanks. I mean, you could have told me that earlier, but never mind.
Yeah. Well, I didn't go on a date to see this movie. I think I saw it on VHS sometime after. Obviously I knew the twist. Everyone knew the twist.
Yeah, I think that was
the trailer ruined the twist.
The trailer gave it away,
which they never should have done. I do feel like the twist in this is because it is like watching two different movies.
Yeah.
And that twist would have been really fun if it wasn't spoiled.
I did. So my mum loves George Clooney. She loves ER.
I was thinking while I was watching this movie. 2 years later, I don't think George Clooney would have done this movie.
Probably not.
Like too big of a star, like coming fresh off ER, like it was the perfect time. It was the perfect time to get him.
Tarantino already knew him because he directed an episode of ER.
Oh, of course he did, didn't he? Yeah.
So that's how he got him on board.
Uh-huh.
And so I thought, my mum has no idea about this movie.
Right. But she knows it's got sexy
this...
Doctor from ER in it.
Exactly. So. There's a George Clooney movie that I think you might like. Would you like to watch it? And she's like, yeah, all right then. So I got it on honestly, this is when it came on video. I got it and we watched it, and I was just like,
well, yeah, I assumed you weren't on a date with her. That was a given.
No. It was brilliant because my mum hates horror movies as well. She's just
well, how did she feel about violent gangster movies?
She doesn't mind.
So was she on board with the first half, or
mostly? Yeah,
okay.
I think she was appalled by the brother,
well, you're meant to be.
Should be appalled by the brother.
You should absolutely be appalled by the brother.
Richie.
Yeah,
but yeah, she was on board and she was enjoying it. She was a bit sort of like, oh, he's not very nice in this, is he?
Range.
No, he's not Dishy Doctor in this.
No. Well, he's, good for him. He's showing his range, right?
Yeah.
He's gone from one role. If he was playing a doctor in this, his movie career would have gone nowhere because it would have been like, well, that's his thing, right? So the fact that he was playing kind of, well, a reluctant hero, I guess. He pretty much is a villain. It works well. I will say this movie as well, for a gimmick, right? Because it's got the twist gimmick. You kind of wonder whether a film with a twist, when you know the twist, a lot of the time the film is kind of that gimmick, and once you've got past that, you're like, it's all right.
Yeah.
But this movie, even rewatching it now, knowing what happens, it's a great movie. It's just a really fun movie. Yeah,
and I think the thing is with as you said, it's a gimmick, but it's a very well done gimmick that everybody takes seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the characters are like, well, this is the situation now, let's just go with it. No one's sort of like no one's winking at the camera or this is silly now, isn't it? Look.
Well, and in fact, a lot of the characters treat it more sensibly in this film than they do in a lot of other films.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we will get to it shortly, but the priest, he's like, I'm going to turn into one of them soon. I've been bitten.
Yeah.
Like, let's do none of this. I'll hide the wound, and later on, I'll start trying to munch you. It's out there. The characters are reasonably sensible with the situation they're provided. But it is weird, like, because you kind of in your mind you think, well, they're on the run.
Mm-hmm.
They pick up the family, they go to the bar, and then the movie starts.
Yeah.
But you watch the movie and you're like, well, no, actually, like, the movie is mostly without the vampires. Like, the vampires come very late in the story. Like, it's actually quite a lot leading up to that, and then the vampires, which I think is what makes the twist, in that middle to end really effective, is the fact that it is a completely different film.
Yeah.
And then this happens, and it's like, here are these people, and we're really well established with what they're like, who they are, what they do, their place in this situation, and then we're going to throw them this massive curveball and just see what happens. And wildly entertaining.
Yeah.
So, shall we get into it?
Yeah.
So we begin with a Texas sheriff, turning up to a liquor store, I guess, like gas station liquor store.
Yeah.
And he goes inside and he starts talking to the shopkeeper. And
it's Ranger Earl McGraw who I think this is his first appearance, but he then, which is the funniest, is his first appearance he dies in, but then he appears in Kill Bill, Death Proof, and Planet Terror.
Yeah.
If I remember rightly.
Yeah.
So the other ones you could say are set before this, maybe with the exception of Planet Terror, because, like, what happens in that movie?
Does it?
That's clearly another planet's. You know.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And he's really good. I mean, he's got that way of talking where his jaw barely moves and he just sort of mumbles his lines.
Yeah, he's a perfect sheriff type.
Yeah.
So he's talking to the attendant and the shopkeeper and
Pete Box, played by John Hawkes.
Yes, and it's clear they talk a lot, right? And he rants a lot, and he's not very nice, the sheriff.
No.
Bit of an asshole, if I'm honest. But he's talking about, his day, the fact that he's planning on getting extremely drunk. And he brings up the fact that these brothers have escaped from prison. Killed 4 people, I think, wasn't it? Like 3 policemen and an innocent woman.
Yeah.
And injured a bunch of others, I think. And that they are likely. Well, all signs lead to them trying to hop the border. So odds are they're coming through Texas, through the sheriff's area, and he's like, if they come through here, I'm gonna get revenge. And it's like, dude, if you're serious about this revenge plan, maybe don't get drunk.
Yeah, maybe put the beer down. But
like, if you're really planning on this, I just think this is probably a bad idea. But you get the impression he's like small town sheriff, gets away with whatever he wants, breaks the law himself constantly. Probably takes in people that he wants to take in. If he doesn't like the look of you, you probably spend a night in the cells just because. And so anyway, he says, if he's going to get him some revenge for the police if they come through. But he needs the toilet. So he asks if he can use the restroom, and obviously the shopkeeper allows him. And then we get this wonderful camera pan to George Clooney's character, Seth, who is got a gun to a young lady. And he then obviously approaches, and then we get from right, isn't it? From the right, we get Richie come in, also with a hostage. And it turns out, obviously, from what Seth says, they've been there the whole time. This whole thing was planned, basically.
Pretty much, you can just about when they come in, you can just about see the movement in the back of the store.
Yeah, which is great. I really like that. It's kind of natural. It's not like if it was a lesser director, I think you would have been like, well, where were they even hiding? That doesn't make any sense. Like you can see where they were hiding. It works. The context of the room works for the scene. But Seth starts kind of berating the shop assistant, and he's like, well, what the fuck are you doing? And he was like, what? Look, and the guy's like, hey, he's in here like every day. If I said he couldn't use the toilet, that would have been weird. Like he would have thought it was weirder if I said, no, you can't use the toilet. Yeah. But Seth's like, you were just meant to get rid of him. And he's like, look, I'm playing along. I'm not giving anything away. I'm trying my best here,
I could win an Oscar for how cool I'm being right now.
Yeah. And to his credit, he does nothing wrong. I thought he was completely believable. He
is doing exactly what they want, and he's doing a really good fucking job of it as well.
And I think Seth is like gives him shit, but I think Seth probably realizes that. Richie, however, is just determined to get this guy killed.
Yeah, well, Richie,
or he's saying or hearing things genuinely that he believes.
I think that's the thing. I mean, you don't know yet, but you get the impression: is it a case of he's just shit stirring, or does he genuinely see what he says he sees? Because he's clearly not just like crazy, he's completely and utterly fucking delusional crazy.
Yeah, I think it's quite clear when we meet Kate and Richie sees Kate say this stuff to him, and he's like talking to her. It's clear that he believes, like he lives in this weird world where people say stuff and do stuff in front of him that no one else sees.
Yeah.
But it's quite clear he is a horrible person as well. Like on top of that, he is like a disgusting human being. But he does clearly have a genuine mental health issue.
Yeah.
So they're talking back and forth.
He whispers to Seth that that he saw him.
Doesn't he say he was itching? He itched, and it was like a sign to the cop.
And to the copper, yeah.
And he's like, if I itched, maybe it was just because I was itchy or nervous. Like I'm not trying to tip him off.
Yeah.
But anyway, the sheriff comes back out, so of course the two kind of disappear again. Although actually, sorry, we should say that Richie does suggest just shooting the cop.
Yeah, he says, I'll just go back in.
Just go back there and blow his head off.
Like, I'd do him in the bathroom. It'd be simple.
And of course, that's like, we've talked about this. That's not happening. Like, this is, they've got enough heat. They do not need this as well,
Yeah.
If they could quietly get through this Texas town, that would be best. So they disappear. Sheriff comes back out, and obviously, the shopkeeper gets back to pretending like he's fine. And then, like, well, you do kind of see it, but very suddenly and almost out of nowhere, Richie blows his head off from behind, just shoots him in the head.
Yeah. And it's a sort of, you kind of see it coming.
Yeah.
But the way it's done is so sort of like, oh fuck, he literally just shot him in the head.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, fuck.
Yeah. And I love, because you kind of wonder maybe, after this you kind of know what kind of movie it's going to be, but up to this point you're like, oh, maybe the sheriff will see them in a mirror on the way out, or see something that would tip, but no, he just gets shot immediately. Seth is furious about this, and he's like, Richie, like, what the fuck have you done? What are you doing? And Richie says, look, he mouthed, help me.
Yeah,
like the shopkeeper, he mouthed help me, and the shopkeeper's like, what? I didn't do that. And of course, we as the audience, we know he didn't do that. We literally saw him. He didn't do anything of the sort.
And of course, also Richie says, look, where you were stood, you couldn't see him. But
but I saw him.
I clearly saw him mouthing the words, help us.
Oh yeah, help us, not help me.
Yeah. And he's like, you do believe me, don't you? And he's like, I believe you. It's like, no, don't believe him. And the only reason he believes him is because it's his brother.
Yeah.
It's just that's the only reason he believes him is because and I don't even think then I don't think he believes him, but it's one of those sort of, well, that's it, fucking dice cast now.
Yeah, and this poor shopkeeper's got nowhere to go because of course the shopkeeper's like, I didn't do that, and then Seth's like, are you calling my brother a liar? And he's like, no,
Yeah.
like I'm not, like, oh fuck,
Yeah.
I'm gonna die basically. I've come to
Yes.
realize in this moment I am dead. So he argues his case as much as possible. Ultimately, Richie just shoots him in the shoulder. I think. I guess I assume he was trying to shoot him in the head, probably, but hit him in the shoulder.
Yeah.
And
He goes down behind the counter.
yes, yeah,
And then Richie and Seth start arguing.
yeah.
You know, and it's like he's going, "You do believe me, do you? You're not just saying that. You do believe me when I say it." He said, "Yes, Richie, I believe you."
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Sure.
the shop guys
frantically opening his safe. Yeah, that combination thing is like it always makes me stressed when I see it.
dial.
Yeah, just because it's like in the situation, you're like, oh god, if that was me, I'd totally go one over and have to start all over again. You know,
Yep.
just be there like, give me a minute, guys, give me a minute.
Yeah, he pulls out the fucking hand cannon.
Yes, and he shoots Richie through the hand.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, this gunfight ensues, ending with Seth and Richie kind of hiding on opposite sides of the room. The girls run off.
They get away.
They get away, thankfully.
They're the lucky ones. They get away.
Well, they're the luckiest ones in this entire film.
Probably, yes.
Like, no one else, even the vampires don't do well in this movie.
No.
So they're on the opposite sides of the room. And the shopkeeper is still shooting and kind of protesting his innocence and whatnot.
Yeah, he's shouting, "I never said that. I did not say that."
Yeah, it's not me. And of course he says I didn't, you know, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. I didn't call your brother a liar. And Seth says, like, it doesn't matter because regardless, in 5 seconds you're gonna be dead. Like, it doesn't matter what you said or who said what. You're gonna die. And he says to Richie, he shouts to Richie, he's like, on the count of 5, shoot the bottles behind the bar. And of course he's got the toilet paper. They're in a convenience store.
Yeah.
And he does this. He shoots all the bottles, obviously liquor, flammable, and Seth throws the toilet paper on fire and sets fire to this poor innocent shopkeeper who did nothing wrong.
Yep.
Mainly due to Richie.
Yeah.
But obviously Seth is clearly here a pretty vile person anyway.
Yep.
I mean, setting someone on fire is
And again, they're sort of they both, the brothers come together and they're sort of, you know, they're talking away, and of course
burning
the
to
guy
death.
comes up from the counter completely on fire, blasting away.
Yeah.
Which is a great shot. That poor bloke, you know, there he is, completely engulfed in flame, just shooting that bloody hand cannon.
Yeah. We should. I mean, it kind of goes without saying, being a Robert Rodriguez movie, but it's all of the camera angles here.
Yes,
so Rodriguez, you know, especially the framing of like Seth when he's holding the gun and stuff is so stylized. It's so you know, it's so desperado, you know.
Yeah. Have you ever seen El Mariachi?
Yeah, I love El Mariachi.
Yeah, everybody always goes to Desperado.
Well, it's just because that was the bigger hit, wasn't it? I think it's the one that people think of for me. And Antonio Banderas kind of became that.
That's true.
You know.
That is true.
But no, I love El Mariachi. El Mariachi is a great movie.
Yeah, it's. I think because it's it was his first movie. It was, you know, a Mexican movie. I think people sort of gloss up, you know, forget about it or just don't know about it.
I guess a lot of people probably see like Desperado as kind of the perfected formula of El Mariachi.
He's the not Tarantino. The Banderas character is the same guy from. It's supposed. to be.
It's meant to be the same. It's following on.
Yeah,
loosely.
The funny thing is he turns up as one of the other guys. The actor, which is
dude. There's I mean, let's be honest. There's at least one person in this that turns up like 3 times as 3 different characters. To the movie,
yeah.
All of them pervy.
Yes, pretty much.
Pretty much. Although actually, maybe not the last guy, but yeah. So In
And
any case, he eventually collapses from his wounds and is burning to death on the floor. And
violent popcorn.
yeah, yeah.
Apparently, the censors board were okay with all the sort of stuff that happens later, but they really disliked his legs twitching while the popcorn was going off around him.
Oh right, okay.
That was the one that was the scene
that was the
he
thing.
objected to. Apparently, it's like,
right.
Okay, well, about all the gory vampire stuff, no, just the legs twitching on the. Okay, fine.
Yeah, sexy gory vampires, fine.
Yeah.
So they leave and argue. Seth's like, this is already turned into this horrendous hostage situation. You were only meant to go in and go to the toilet or get supplies. I can't remember which.
Just to get a map, I think, weren't they?
Oh, that's right. It was a map of Texas, wasn't it? That's all they needed
Yeah.
was a map of Texas. And he turned it into this thing. And he's like, well, I didn't know the cop was going to be there. This is not my fault. And it's very clear that Richie does not take any kind of criticism well at all.
No.
But anyway, we then get them driving down.
I love this. You've got them walking out of the shop, which is beginning to catch fire,
and it just explodes
towards
behind
the car,
them.
and it just starts blowing up. And they aren't remotely phased by this. They're just walking towards the camera.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
but it's very cool.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
and apparently, so that was the first thing they filmed, that scene, and it turned out that there was something wrong with the camera.
Oh,
and they built that whole thing themselves. So they completely destroyed it.
Mm.
And then they realized the camera had fucked the scene, so they had to redo it at the end of the shoot. So they had to rebuild the bloody thing and reset it and reshoot it at the end.
Damn,
it looks fucking awesome, brilliant.
So anyway, they head out on the highway in their, well, it's like a Barracuda, I think. Nice and subtle. This fucking car. Yeah, I mean, God, it looks awesome. Especially like those kind of cars always look better when they're covered in sand and dust and dirt. Somehow they just look cooler.
There is something about a muscle car,
covered in dust or
shiny
dirt.
Muscle cars are cool, but when they've had a bit of wear in them and they're just covered in grime,
they just get cooler, man. But I love we get the credits but I love the shot into the trunk, the X-ray shot. That's like really, those kind of overly ambitious, really shots really work for me. But yeah, so we see really there's a hostage in the car. Basically, she's like bound and gagged in the boot.
Yeah, and Richie puts his hand up, and you can see that the bullet went right through his hand. And just gets like the roll of gaffer tape. Just tape that up with some. It's fine.
I love the shot when you can see Seth's eye through.
Yeah.
The hole in his hand when he's like holding it up to Seth.
Yeah.
But yes, in any case, they end up checking into a motel. Because they need to plan how they're going to skip the border, basically. So it's revealed at this point that they have a lot of money waiting for them. There's a contract that they need a contact. They need to meet a contact in a place called Sanctuary somewhere in Mexico, and then they'll get all the money. So all they need to do is get out of America, across the border, which is why Seth wants this to be as quiet as possible.
Yeah.
And
they go to El Rey.
Yes.
Which is actually, it was Rodriguez's production company.
Oh no, it's El Rey, not Sanctuary, isn't it? You're right.
Yeah,
Sorry, El Rey. Yeah. So there's a place called El Rey, and
which apparently is it's from The Getaway. So the book, The Getaway.
Oh, okay.
Also, the film, which is it's been done twice.
Yeah.
I've seen the original. I've not seen the Alec Baldwin one.
Hmm.
But apparently, those two movies, it's a sort of, they've got, I wouldn't say happy endings, but they've got endings where they escape to El Rey, and El Rey's like an okay place. Whereas apparently in the book, El Rey is like a horrible hellhole where if you're staying there, you have to spend so much money every like month, or otherwise they'll kick you out. And if you get kicked out, you end up in like these villages that surround it, which is like full of cannibals and lunatics and stuff.
Right.
So in the book, apparently, it's really revolting and it's not a happy ending. But the two movies both have a sort of,
well, of course,
they reach El Rey and it's fine.
Of course, here we're told that El Rey is horrible. So
Yeah,
it might be surrounded by cannibals for all we know.
Yeah, it's a criminal, sanctuary for,
for the worst,
the last place that they can go, sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So they're talking in the motel, and they have the hostage there. She's obviously terrified. Seth is he says to her, like, if you just do what we say, come with us, I promise you'll be okay.
Yeah, I'll guarantee you'll survive if he's all about his 6 little friends. Don't try and run.
Yeah, they're faster than you. They run fast. They move faster than you do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that when they first get to the motel and Seth goes to the check-in room, and he's banging on the table, and that old dude comes out. It's like, what the like, miserable old fucker. It's like, what the fuck do you want?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think I want, you old miserable old bastard? I want a room. And he just sort of goes, oh, okay then.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember your job?
Yeah.
So he says, look, if you just do what we say, I promise you'll be okay. Now I'm going to leave you with my psycho brother and leave the room for an hour.
Yeah.
I'll be back. Or not even an hour. I think it's not very long, but he's like, I know, I'm going to go out and get supplies or something. And Richie, I think, is probably more creepy when he's being nice, like he is. When he's like, because he goes into the bedroom, doesn't he? And he's like, that voice that Tarantino puts on, that really almost sickly kind voice.
Yeah.
Where he's like, oh, hey, do you want to come sit on the bed with me and watch TV? He's like real soft spoken and really, and it's like, oh god, that's even worse. Like somehow that's even more gross. And of course she does, because she's just been told by Seth to just basically do what they say. She's like, don't question. He's like, don't question anything, just do what we say.
And of course, it being Tarantino, he gets to take her shoes off.
Yeah, of course. But we then kind of get the news story about the things they've done, how awful they've been, and that they're on the run, and that there's this big wide manhunt going on.
It's a lovely little sort of cameo from John Saxon and Kelly Preston, which is you got Kelly Preston as the news anchor, who's like giving you the details and like giving you the body count and stuff, and you get the body count up on screen. And then they talk to Saxon, who's like, "Yep, we'll apprehend them in 48 hours. It's fine."
Yeah, don't worry about it. So Seth comes back to the motel. And...
we get the introduction of the family then.
Oh, do we?
Yeah,
I thought we got them after that, but okay.
I'm sure we get the
okay. Yeah,
before Seth comes back. I think we get the diner scene.
Oh no, you're right. We do get the diner scene first. So we meet former pastor Jake, played by Harvey Keitel, and his daughter Kate, and adopted son Scott. And you get the impression they have been driving across the country in this RV for quite some time.
Yeah.
Jake is keen to find a motel, or basically he says, I just want to sleep in a proper bed. And the kids kind of tease him a bit with this, because they're like, well, I thought this RV was the most perfect thing ever. What are you talking about? And Jake's like, well, I might have been a bit overzealous. When I bought it, I was excited. It was my new thing. But he basically says, look, I just want, more than anything right now, to sleep in an actual bed. Because I think later on, Kate's like, if this place doesn't have a swimming pool, we're leaving. And he's like, I don't care as long as it's got a bed. That's all I care about. But
we established that he's no longer a pastor.
Yeah, so I was going to say, Scott goes to the toilet, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And Kate says, oh, hey, I didn't want to say in front of Scott because he gets upset, but we spoke to them and they've said they're not going to replace you until you come back. And Jake says, look, I'll phone. That's very nice of them. I'll phone them in the morning and tell them I'm not going back. You know, he's lost his faith effectively.
Yeah.
I don't think we know why at this stage. I mean, it's pretty obvious why, but you know.
Yeah, I think
it's like kind of, you know, it's not a big revelation.
But no, he does say, because Kate says, "What do you think Mum would say?" And he says,
"Oh, that's right. No, they do actually, don't they?"
Yeah, he says Mum wouldn't say anything because she's dead.
Yeah. So Seth returns to his motel room.
Yeah. With his bag of Kahuna burgers.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he did go to get food. Yeah, I couldn't remember what he left for, but yeah, he came back with burgers, and they briefly talk.
Yeah,
and then Seth's like, "Where's?"
I love the way they do this because he comes into the room, the door to the bedroom is shut.
Yep.
And Seth, Richie's just sat with his lounge with with his back to the wall sort of thing. And he points a gun at Seth when he comes to the door, and he's like, "Where the fuck have you been?" Sort of thing.
He's like, "I've been worried.
Yeah, and he's like, I had a look around. He says, "What did you see?" He's like, "Cops mostly." He's like everywhere. He said, "Did you see the border?" He says, "Yes, I saw the border." And they're just casually talking, and he takes the burgers out, and he looks at Seth's hand, and then Richie's hand. He looks at Richie's hand. He puts one of the burgers into his other hand, and then he picks up like two burgers, and he looks at the burger, and then he looks at Richie and says, "Where's the woman?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "She's in there. She's in there." And he just points to the door, and you immediately oh well, this fucking ended well then, didn't it?
Yeah. I think. Sorry, we did get I think we get the very brief shot where Seth walks past the pastor, doesn't he? Or is that in a little bit?
No, that's after.
Is that after? Okay, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Seth enters the room, and I love the fact you get like flashes, but you don't see what the fuck he's done. But
yeah,
it's fucking disgusting, whatever he's
done.
There
is blood. It's basically smearing the walls, the foam, everywhere.
And Richie's like basically trying to justify.
Well, he's just munching away on his food. He's like,
but doesn't he say
happened.
Doesn't he say he had no choice? He had to.
Yeah, he said. Yeah, he says. Oh, he said, what the hell happened? He's like, oh, she got violent. He's like, no way. And she's like, yeah, she became a different person when you left the room.
But Seth looked in her eyes, and he was like, no.
Yeah, and he's like, he says, I think he says, that woman wouldn't have said shit if her mouth was full of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a really good shot of just him stood in the doorway.
Oh, just the horrified face
looking
of
into
Seth.
the room. Yeah. And it's like, is this me? Is this my fault? Am I to blame for this? And he's like, no, it's her. She's awful. It's like, no, she just went off on one. He's like, no, you don't understand. Is this what you think I do?
Yeah, he's like, I'm just a thief. I kill people when I have to.
Yeah, he said, I don't kill. Yeah, he says, I don't kill people unless I have to. He says, this is not how it's done. He's like, I don't rape and murder women.
Yeah.
And he slaps him about a bit, but eventually just sort of hugs him because he loves his brother.
Yeah. And of course, to add further complications, they now lack a hostage.
Yeah.
Again, they need to escape,
and they've created a nice new crime scene.
Yeah, new crime scene, and no hostage anymore.
Yeah. That's when you go back to them, the Jacob and his family pulling in to the.
Yeah, they almost hit Seth, don't they? Because Seth's walking across the road.
And he just stands there with the beer,
looking cool,
just basically taking in the RV, basically, and just like you can see the idea completely forming in his head as he's just staring at them.
Yeah,
Kate's like, "What the fuck's his problem?"
Yeah, so the pastor and the kids are basically in their room, minding their own business. Shortly after, and there's a knock at the door.
Yeah, it was. I think so. Kate's gone to the swimming pool. Scott is. I think is he got.
Scott's playing guitar, isn't he?
That's right. He's got a headphones plugged into a guitar. Hasn't
yeah.
He? And the pastor's on the bed.
Yeah. I think the pastor was actually asleep, wasn't it? I think the knock is woken him up. And yeah, you're right. Sorry, Kate is in the swimming pool. So it did have a swimming pool. So I can't remember what Richie asks for.
I think it's ice bucket or ice.
Oh, so yes, it's ice. I think it is ice. I think you're right.
Yeah, it's either ice or the ice bucket. I think he's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And the pastor kind of, he agrees.
Yeah, exasperatedly gets up and opens the door.
Yeah, but of course he turns his back for a second, turns back around, and there's a gun in his face, of course. And then Seth comes around the corner as well. Which is good. He didn't trust Richie to do it on his own. That would have been a concern, He's like, okay. And so they have new hostages, but of course then Kate comes back from her swim.
Yeah.
And
it's really cool. I like the way it feels very natural. She comes in the door. They both turn around and point the guns at her. She leaps backwards and with a startle. Jacob gets up.
I like she's like, what the fuck is going on? And Richie says it's a bikini contest. You've won. Come in.
You won. It's brilliant. I love that. And of course, I'd also like the thing with Scott when
when Seth's questioning how he can be his son?
Yeah, and he's like, "What's the deal with you two?" He's like, he's like, "It's my son." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You don't look Japanese." He's like, "Neither does he. He's Chinese."
Yeah.
It's like I love that because the expression he gives to him is like, "I am gonna fucking shoot you if you keep sassing me like this,"
Yeah. Well, you get the impression that Jake doesn't really care about his own life.
No,
he obviously cares about his kids deeply, but he doesn't care about his own life. So he's quite happy to sass Seth a few times during this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they now have new hostages.
Yeah, they basically explain.
We have a brief moment where we're shown that Richie is insane here.
Yeah.
Where he thinks that Kate basically says, "Do you want to eat my pussy?"
Yeah.
He actually he's responding to her. Mm-hmm. And then we see it from Seth's perspective, where Seth's like, "Richie," and you can see that Richie was clearly saying something to her. It's not like he was saying that in his mind.
No.
It looks like he was actually responding to her, and everyone in the room is confused apart from Richie.
Yeah.
So it's clear, as we said earlier, that it may not be that Richie is a piece of shit psycho just wanting to kill people and making excuses. On some level, he clearly sees these things and believes he has a very distorted reality.
I mean, it's a case of what is worse.
Well, I mean, he's clearly an awful person anyway.
Yes.
There's no doubt, regardless, he's an awful person. But there is an element of insanity on top of the awfulness, is what I'm saying. Even if he wasn't insane, I think he would still be a horrible person.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also a complete psychopath. He's mental. And Seth is awful as well, but Seth clearly cares for his brother and is kind of torn. I think Seth knows his brother is terrible for everyone.
Yeah.
I
mean, you could probably imagine that over the years he's probably saved him so many times,
Well, of course, this time I think it was Richie that saved Seth, right?
Yeah, he got him out of prison. We get that in
God knows how, but
when they're in the RV in a bit, we get the where he goes off on one. It's Seth.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So they head to the RV, and they basically say what they're doing, and the plan is they're going to go to Mexico. Once they get to Mexico, if the family do, Seth again, if you do what I tell you, I promise you will not die. Even though the last two people that I've said this to have died horribly. One of them implied rape, but so. Yeah, honestly, this time Scout's on her. Well, I think you do get the impression that this time Seth is like, and I'm never leaving the room. Basically to ensure that this is not going to happen again, I will be here the entire time. But yeah, so the plan is they're going to go across the border to Mexico. Then hopefully they can hide in the RV, but if not, they've got hostages, so they have options now.
And you get some nice little scenes where Seth like goes through Jacob's wallet and he sees that he's a pastor.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm no longer a pastor.
Mm.
And he says, why is that? And he says about your what is he says a picture. I think he's got a picture of his wife in the wallet.
He does.
He says, yeah, that's my wife. And he says, where is she? And he's like, in heaven.
Mm.
And he gets this that you could there's some sort of little bit of respect, I think, from Seth for Jacob. He's sort of like, okay, I kind of get you. I get where you're going. And then he says, like, just look. He says, just be cool. As long as you're cool, we'll be cool. He says, he says something along the lines of, don't worry about me. Just think about my brother's intentions on your daughter back there.
Yeah, he's like, did you see the look he gave her? And Jake's like, yes. He's like, didn't like it, did you? He's like, no.
Yeah. And again, you get it's the ultimate Tarantino shot again of you get Kate's feet.
Yeah.
Massive close up on Kate's feet, and the camera pans up to her. And I also forgot the I love that little detail of the when they get into the thing, when they get into the RV, Seth just says to Richie, put your bit in. just randomly sort of just little thing of him putting that bit in because he grinds his teeth.
Yeah. So Richie basically has this conversation with a very confused Kate now, doesn't he?
Yeah, he says, did you mean what you said back there at the hotel? She's like, what did I say?
Yeah, and he's almost like embarrassed to say it. It's almost like he's like, I can't believe you said this and you used this language.
Yeah.
But he's like, what you said, like he won't say it.
It's childlike.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's very
like
very
naughty schoolboy sort of thing.
And like I said, it makes it 10 times creepier.
Yep.
The fact that he does act like this embarrassed child, knowing that we know what he's done and what he thinks she said.
Mm-hmm. And she's sort of, she's responding, calmly if confused.
She's confused, yeah.
And just as he's about to sort of get into what she said, Seth's like, "Hey, you've got no reason to be talking to those people back there. You just do, just
yeah." He says, "I told you to watch them, not speak to them."
Yeah, and Seth's like, and so Richie's like, "We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later."
Yeah, and she's just like, "Okay."
Yeah.
But yes, so they then get to the border, and Border Patrol Cheech in his first appearance of the movie, first of at least 3, I think, maybe more.
Yeah, it's 3.
It's 3, isn't it? Because he's the bouncer and he's also the guy that turns up at the end.
Chet Pussy, and then he's Carlos at the end.
That's right, Carlos.
Apparently, he was only I think he was only supposed to play 2. I think he was the guard and Chet. And Carlos was, I think, supposed to be played by what's his name? The guy who was in Chips, Mexican actor that was in Chips.
Oh, okay.
Series. I forget what his bloody name is now.
I like to think that they're all twins that have vastly different careers.
Just one family.
Just like vastly different career choices.
Yeah.
Like the most awkward Christmas.
Just think at the end of the evening, they all go back to the same house.
Yeah, just like, well, Jesus.
Technically, we don't know how old Chet Pussy is. I mean, he could be their father.
He could be, yeah. He could be their grandfather for all we know.
Yeah, exactly.
So Kate, Seth, and Richie hide in the toilet.
Yep.
And so they're approaching, and Scott and Jake. Scott's like, what are we gonna do? And Jake's like, we're gonna cross the border into Mexico. Just do what they say. Scott's like, we have to tell them, and he's like, I've seen reality TV shows. I know they will kill us regardless.
Yeah, I know what we can do. I've seen it on TV. We can sort them out.
We can take these guys. Yeah.
It's like, no, that's how you all end up murdered by Border Patrol.
Yeah, or this family.
Yeah,
one or the other. So they pull up, and the customs agent is like, what are you guys doing here? And he's like, oh, just it's just me and my son, and taking him to see his first. Isn't it like a bullfight or something?
His first bullfight, yeah.
Yeah, it's taking him to see his first bullfight. And I'm like, okay. Then there's a noise from behind, and he's like, what was that?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, that's my daughter. She's in the toilet. And he's like, I thought you said it was just you and your son. He's like, oh no, I meant me, my son, and my daughter. And obviously, the agent's like, okay, I'm coming in.
In the toilet, you've got
Richie making things awkward.
Richie basically kicking off, and Seth says to him, we're going to be good as long as you don't do anything crazy.
Yeah.
He's like, what do you mean crazy? Well, crazy? What? Crazy was like how I saved you. Is that how I got you out of prison? Was that crazy when I was doing that? And he's just going off on this one, and you can see poor Kate is between them, like just looking at him, oh my god, we're all gonna die. And I love that you can see Seth's face is just, it's like, this is obviously a regular occurrence. And he just punches him behind him. And Richie goes down, and I like Kate just goes, "Thank you."
Yeah. She's just like, "Thanks, man." But yeah, so the border patrol come in and check the toilet, and of course Kate's on the toilet. She's like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, close the door." Yeah. He is very pervy. This customer.
Yeah, he gets a good.
He just keeps staring really awkwardly, and it's like, oh god.
Yeah.
But the ruse works. She closes it, or he closes it eventually, and they get through the border. They get into Mexico. He Seth kind of basically tells him, he's like, hey, you're all gonna live. We've made it. Yep. We've done it. All we need to do now, we need to go to this bar. And he's like, we're all going to this bar. Don't know why we're taking you all, but we are. That's just what we're gonna do, because the film needs you for the next few scenes. Well, I guess he's like, oh, actually, you guys are all right. I owe you one. Take you for a drink at this horrible bar.
That's kind of what it feels like to me. Is that he's like,
he sees it as a reward, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we're gonna get to the bar. We're gonna have a drink, and then you're gonna go your merry way, and we'll go our merry way.
Yeah.
And I like that. It's like, you're gonna drive down this highway, you're gonna take this such and such a road. He said you're looking for a place called the Titty Twister. From what I've been told, you can't miss it.
No, and they're right. There's a lot of fire.
Yeah, and more neon than Tokyo.
In Vegas. Yeah. I love I love he has the conversation with Richie.
Yeah.
When Richie wakes up and he's like, what happened? And Seth's like, I don't know, you just passed out. You said something about your hand and you just passed out. Yeah. It's like, I feel terrible.
It's like, you broke your glasses. It's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, and he starts really freaking out about the glasses. And like, Seth's like, you heard me when I said we've made it to Mexico, right? We're free. Like, you're worried about your glasses?
It's like, oh, they're not going to know my prescription in fucking Mexico, are they? It's like... Apparently, I don't know whether it's true, the broken glasses is a reference to Straw Dogs.
Oh, okay.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
There's a lot of references to other movies in this. I mean,
oh god, yeah.
The kid's wearing a sort of Precinct 13.
I know, I'm really jealous of that shirt.
It's a really good t-shirt.
Yeah, whenever I see it, I'm like, I really want that shirt. I'm sure I could probably get it, but yeah. So yeah, he is right. It is very easy to find this bar. Yeah. So hard to ignore, particularly since the road ends there, and then apparently is some like Sumerian fucking. Well, we'll get to that. Some pyramid, but I love that last shot. We'll get to it, but that shot is fantastic. I mean, it's stupid, but it's brilliant. So in any case, they've made it to at least outside the club, and I think credit where credit is due to Cheech Marin, because like we only just saw him being a different character, but these characters are so vastly different that I think the film gets away with it, and it is done with kind of a wink and a smile.
Yeah, it's a complete sort of non-Winter 70s movies, cheap 70s
or
movies.
50s even. I mean, it reminded me of like House of Wax and stuff. Especially the breaking of the fourth wall with him like talking, because obviously he's not doing, instead of a yo-yo trick, he's talking about pussy. But
we've got smelly pussy, black.
He's thoroughly gross fucking guy.
Yeah, we've got Adam. We got is it horse pussy, dog pussy?
Yeah.
Pussy? I love that he goes. I mean, it's a massive speech. He goes on about. Is it when you buy one, you can buy one? You get one equal value for no more than a penny.
I did wonder how much of this was scripted and how much they were like, Cheech, just go for it. Like, here's vaguely what you needed to say. Just take it as ridiculous as you can.
Yeah. He's clearly having and you do get that wonderful thing is like if you find pussy cheaper anywhere else, and he looks directly at the camera.
Yeah, it's that breaking of the fourth wall. Yeah,
I love that. It was brilliant, absolutely fantastic.
But of course, the family approach,
and that's actually, we should also mention the soundtrack.
Yeah,
one of the coolest soundtracks as well. You've got, because it's another one of those sort of soundtracks like the other Tarantino ones that have got little snippets of the dialogue from the movies, between the songs and stuff, and you get that speech at the beginning of, I can't remember which song it is. I don't think it's Only After Dark, but you get that between one of the songs. You got some great ZZ Top on there, and obviously you've got Tito and the Tarantulas, which are the band that are actually in the
Let's kill that fucking band.
Yeah.
So yeah, the family approach, and of course, Cheech tries it on with Kate, and doesn't end well for him. As Seth just kicks shit out of him.
Yep.
And then I love Richie coming back afterwards.
Yeah. Hey, how are you? How's it going? It's just kicking him with each punctuation.
Yeah, that's amazing. So they head in, and Kate is rightly fucking disgusted. She sits in the whole time. She's just sat here with the most disgusted look on her face. She's just like, why?
However, Scott, on the other hand,
Scott's having a great time.
Scott is having the time of his life.
Yeah, Scott's like, I'm fucking glad I didn't hand these people into Border Patrol. This is great.
This is the coolest dive roadhouse ever. I mean, you've got a sort of Aztec theme going on. You've got like women up on plinths and like on the walls. They're sort of everywhere. There are like bikers and truckers everywhere.
Well, of course, any bikers and truckers are allowed in, according to Danny Trejo.
Yeah, Razor Charlie,
that's right. Yeah. And Seth, Seth
what,
properly tries to escalate.
How young
this.
Danny Trejo looks in this movie.
Oh, it's an early movie for him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, wow, I'd forgotten how young he was in this.
I think the only movie I've seen him in when he's younger was probably Nico, the Seagal movie, where he's like a bit part. He's like in one scene. And then next to that, I think this is probably one of the youngest performances I've seen. But yeah, Seth, they're told that they can't drink there because it's for bikers and truckers only. And Seth really flies off the handle and escalates the situation. Jake steps in and he's like, I am a truck driver. I need to drive that thing outside. I need a truck license. So I am a truck driver and these are my friends. De-escalates the situation. And I love how Trey's character's like immediately like, okay, well, welcome to the bar. Have a drink, no worries.
He's got that. I love the way he's scrutinizing his passport. He's got that sort of like, head back, holding the wallet in front of him, sort of thing, like he needs glasses or something. It's like,
and of course, then Seth's like, do have you got any food? And he's like, the best in town. He's like, I seriously doubt that. Or the best in Mexico. Doesn't he say it's the best in Mexico?
Yeah, it's the best in Mexico. He's like, I seriously doubt it.
But then I love the scene where they take a seat and Jake's like, "Are you so stupid?"
Yeah, well, you get they sit down. He offers them all a drink.
Yeah, Jacob it's like tequila or something, isn't it? They're doing shots.
It's tequila. Jacob refuses. Scott initially says no. So does Kate, and Kate's like, I'm not old enough, and he's like, doesn't matter if I can hear. Do you want a drink? So she said, yeah, go on then. And I love it. She downs that drink, and her face that is a brilliant portrayal of someone who's never had alcohol before.
Especially tequila.
Yeah, tequila. It's one of it's.
I mean, I quite like tequila, but certainly the first one you have is like, what have I drunk?
Never got the hang of tequila. It's vile for me. So that and cognac. Never got the hang of cognac.
A lot of people don't like Sambuca, do they? But
I've seen Sambuca. Yes,
I love aniseed. I love it.
I do.
Yeah, I think it's a love-hate thing, but I really love aniseed.
Pernod. Pernod is. I used to drink Pernod and Black a lot many moons ago. I haven't had it for years, but yeah.
But yeah, it's a great reaction. You're right.
Yeah, it's great. But you get they're slamming the drinks down. They're slamming the glasses down, and Seth's getting really worked up again. He's he's really steamed. And Jacob says, "Are you so fucking stupid?"
The thing is, as well, is he's great because Jake's not aware of what happened at the shop and everything else, and the motel. Like, I think Seth's more fuming about that and worried about his brother being fucking beyond redemption, screwed up in the head.
Maybe.
But yeah, anyway, sorry, go continue.
But he says, "Are you that stupid that you don't realise that you've won?"
Yeah.
And it's like. He says, "What the fuck did you just call me?" And he's like, no. He says, "I wasn't making a statement."
Yeah, he said, "I asked a question."
Yeah, he says, you, everybody in Texas, like every Texas Ranger and every
America failed. FBI America failed to catch you.
Yeah, and here you are, and he just say, I'm stewing over that guy putting his hands on me. That's what he says. He says his Gibbs, and he's like, no, you've won. You're here now. You've beaten it. And he's like, he does calm down, and he says, "You know what? I want you to drink with me."
Yeah.
He's like, I insist. So he drinks with him.
Yeah.
And I like so you get the little introductions of the other like Sex Machine.
Yeah, I did that. Sex Machine is. I mean, it's Tom Savini, and Tom Savini's fantastic. But that whole like gun thing, I'm like, how does that ever work? How does any of that? I mean, it's funny, but how does any of that work?
So this has been apparently they've discussed this at length.
I mean, it doesn't need discussing. It's a funny bit, but
no, but I like it I like the way it works. So it's triggered by a pump in his hand, right? And it's padded so that the recoil won't hurt him.
Sure.
Right.
Now, very much based on the caliber, I'd imagine it would hurt, but sure.
It's the cool thing is so that it's not a revolver. It's actually like a belt feed. So
I guess it would have to be, right?
And then the other, which is cool. And so apparently, when somebody said, well, "Surely the recoil will, hurt," and he said, Tom Savini said no, because when they were in Nam, they apparently used to fire their M16s while holding it on various parts of their body to see if it would hurt.
Okay, well, I'll take his word for it.
Yeah, Tom Savini is convinced that it would not hurt if it was padded enough, and it would be fine.
I mean, it is a funny thing. I mean,
I mean, Tom Savini would. I mean, you believe?
When yeah. I mean,
he was a photographer.
Seen some shit. Yeah,
that's how he kind of got into
all of it,
like injury detail and things like that, because he witnessed it while he was out there.
Yeah.
So I love that, and I can't remember the guy who he takes the beer off of. He's one of the guys from the FX company,
right?
and I love that. It's a brilliant. He takes the thing with the whip, his beer with the whip. He tucks out a flick knife, and he just flicks that fucking cod piece.
Yeah,
Just so good.
we also get the shot of Frost, right? Kind of drinking and watching, looking
Building
intense.
his little Domino's house.
Yes, he's getting pissed off that the stripper messes
Yeah.
up his domino house.
And
And
she's
you
like,
just imagine he's been trying to do that all night.
Yeah.
And it's just like every time some stripper comes along and dances and ruins it for him.
and then it will happen again in a minute too.
Yeah. Yeah. So we obviously there's girls dancing everywhere, but then we get is it Danny Trejo again? Comes up and he's yeah, he is, because he's like I can't remember what he says now. He says something like "silence worms" or something.
Yeah,
lowly dogs. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's like the most evil woman to ever walk the earth. Santana Pandemonium is like, and I love that you get that big build up, and you go to the curtains, which are like manky looking curtains, and you get that squeak, 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 squeak as they open up. It's like the most pathetic sounding sort of curtains as it pulls up. And you get the fire going off, and out she comes in this big cape
with a snake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she takes the cape off to reveal the snake.
Yeah.
So Selma Hayek, my word, how wonderful does she look in this movie? I mean, she looks wonderful.
I was gonna say, she looks wonderful in every movie.
Funnily enough, actually, I just watched The Hitman's Bodyguard.
Oh yeah.
And she looks fantastic in that. She's, I think she's 60 now, but she looks absolutely. No, she's 57. So she still looks absolutely stunning now.
Yeah.
But this is peak Selma Hayek.
I mean, I'm 39 and she looks younger than I do now.
Yeah.
So like she looks amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, here is like it's fucking like what 94, 5.
96.
So,
96, yeah.
Oh, 96. Oh, this is actually later than I thought it was.
Yeah. 96. She got kind of tricked into this role.
Oh, really?
So yeah, they'd worked with her before. I can't remember which it was, the film it was that she'd worked with, but they basically said, look, we've got this part for you. You're going to be dancing. You won't be nude. So there'll be no nudity, but you will have to sort of dance and stuff, and it will involve a snake. And she's like deathly afraid of snakes.
Oh God, really?
Yeah, she's really afraid of snakes.
Wow, because she fair play to her, because she does not look. She looks confident in those shots.
So she initially refused.
Because that must have been terrifying for her.
Yeah. So she initially refused the role, and they said Madonna is looking at the role. Complete lie. Madonna is looking at the role, but we want you, before Madonna. So she agreed, and she went and had therapy to get over her fear before the role. And then when she got there, she was like, "Okay, I don't know how to dance," and they were like, "Just sway with the music, it'll be fine."
There is a couple of shots that look a little bit awkward, actually.
Yes.
One or two, and it's usually at the end of a take.
Yeah.
You can tell it's like right at the end. But there are a couple of times where it's like, that looked a bit awkward. So yeah, I can kind of see that. I love the idea that they were like, she was like, you're basically right. So you're Rodriguez and company.
Yeah. And
you're trying to hire one of the most beautiful women on the planet
to
basically perform the sexy dance and be the sexy vampire for your movie.
Yep.
The scene involves a snake, and one of the sexiest women on the planet is like, I hate snakes though, I can't do it.
Yep.
And my first reaction would have been like, yeah, okay, we'll lose the snake. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. But I love that they stuck to their guns. They were like, no, the snake must be in there. You must go to therapy to get over your snake fear. Rather than just be like, okay, we just won't have a snake. Like,
yeah.
People aren't going to be looking at the snake.
No one gives a fuck about the snake. With the exception of maybe Alice Cooper.
Well, yeah. So she performs a dance. pretty much almost
again,
immediately heads to Richie.
I was gonna say, I think it's a evil knows evil, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. It's totally.
That's how I've
evil.
always looked at that. And you can say again, Tarantino, bless him. Like you said, he gets one of the most beautiful women on the planet to pretty much feed him alcohol via her leg and foot.
Yeah, I mean, if he was the director of this movie, I would have been like, this is kind of gross, like, you know. But it's not, so I guess fine.
Yeah, I mean, he wrote it, though.
I know he did, I know.
And it's clearly, you know, because originally I think he was going to direct it originally, and then he decided he wanted to play Seth. He wanted to concentrate more on Seth. So that's why he got Rodriguez to direct it.
Mm.
And this was his first paid script.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Robert Kurtzman, who again was from the KNB effects group, he wanted to do a movie that showcased their work. So he wanted you know it to be sort of vampire type thing. So Tarantino came up with it. He got $1.50 for it.
Right.
Like, imagine that, just being paid $1.50 for this script. But it languished in for years. Nothing sort of came of it.
I gotta be honest though, this script would have been fucking terrible without the direction.
Yes,
like it's so. Not. Do you know what I mean? Like the script isn't what makes this movie. The direction and the actors' performances definitely. Yeah. I mean, obviously the script's fine, but it's with different actors and different directors, this would have been nothing.
Also, the thing is that at one point it was mooted as the sequel to Demon Knight.
Okay.
It was going to be the second Tales from the Crypt movie.
Okay. I could see that, actually.
Then they decided to go with the Bordello of Blood instead.
Yeah.
Which, Demon Knight, fucking brilliant. Love Demon Knight. Bordello of Blood is a rubbish movie that I like.
Terrible, but I have nostalgic feelings towards it.
It's a fun, awful vampire movie. And
I haven't watched it since I was a kid. And I think I might leave it there.
You're probably better off.
I mean, I do have fond memories of it, but I know it's rubbish, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's even the third one's even the third.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
The voodoo one is.
I don't know if I've even seen it.
Oh, the third one's fucking atrocious. Avoid it at all costs. It's terrible. I mean, but I would quite happily watch Bordello of Blood again.
Oh, I probably would if someone was like, "Let's put it out."
You know, I probably wouldn't recommend other people do it.
No.
But Demon Knight is fucking awesome. Demon Knight, I think, still stands up. Is a really good horror.
Mm.
So yeah, it was going to be that fell away, and then it got brought out after sort of Tarantino had gained success with Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction and stuff. It was like, hey, he wrote this too. Maybe we should do this.
Yeah. Yeah. So she does the dance and he drinks off of her leg and then out of her mouth with the
she drops fills out her mouth up and also she kicks over what's his face? It's Frost's little tower again.
Yeah.
And I look again. Kate's face is brilliant. She's just looking at this woman. She's like, "What the fuck is this?"
She's just disgusted by everything.
Yeah, she seems a bit confused as to why everybody is obsessed with this woman.
Yeah, she's just like, this is really demeaning, horrible. I hate everything about it. You've just forced me to drink fucking tequila, which I hate. Like she's had a terrible time just the whole time.
Oh, I think she was enjoying the tequila because she has another one.
Oh, yeah, maybe she enjoyed the tequila.
I think she was enjoying the tequila. I think there's a certain amount of freedom in that bit because clearly her dad, being a pastor, is probably pretty strict about stuff. I mean, he stops her from swearing. He chews her out for swearing, on a number of occasions. So
yeah, Scott on the other hand is having a wonderful time.
Yeah, he's great. Titties everywhere. He's
having fun. Yeah. So the song comes to an end, and of course Seth is like applauding, and he's like, "That's what I call a show. That was fantastic."
Yeah, that's a fucking show.
But then he sees out the corner, well, not out of the corner of his eye, directly behind Salma Hayek, he sees the.
No, it's behind Richie, isn't it?
Yeah, because the shot's behind her, though, isn't it? And then
Yeah,
he sees
yeah.
that the bouncers are coming through the door.
Yeah.
And of course, the bouncer that they kicked the crap out of. I'm surprised it took this long, but he comes through the door, and they're obviously talking and pointing. And
I like the way Seth says, "Richie, get back on the clock."
Yeah, and Richie's immediately like,
they
how
get
many?
into thing, and Richie's like, "How many?" And he's like, 3.
So they ask him, they're like, who did this? He's like, oh, that cocksucker did it, and then this guy kicked me while I was down.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you know.
Well, they start sort of arguing, and then
yeah.
as it Razor Charlie takes out a knife and sticks it in
Richie's a hand again, right? It's the same hand.
Yeah, Richie's same hand, right in the same spot, basically, pinning him to the table.
Yeah, so Seth pulls a gun.
Yep. All hell breaks loose.
Yeah. It's a gun, basically another gunfight.
Yeah. Richie takes the knife out, and I think he stabs one of them, doesn't he?
Yes, I believe
and
so.
And then he takes the knife and slams it back into the table.
Yes, and I think is that when Kate notices the blood, or
yeah, Kate and Jacob look at because they're ducked down.
That's right.
Under the table, and of course you can see Richie's hand bleeding profusely, and Salma Hayek is looking a little bit peckish. She's got that sort of...
Yeah, she's staring at the bloody hand.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the bouncer, who I think got shot once, is heard laughing, and they both turn around like, what the fuck? And just blast him away.
And then, Jacob and see the green blood on the knife.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they look, you look back up at Santanico, and she
does an awful
morphs into a snake lady.
Yeah, I love that these vampires do very strange, different things. Like each of them have their own thing that they do.
They're clearly from the Nosy school of vampires, aren't they? They're not. These are not your handsome-looking vampires. These are full-on monstrous.
Yeah,
bats, snakes, and rats, and
although I do imagine that, like, with Sex Machine, I'm pretty sure if you kill Tom Savini, that's probably what will actually happen. Like in real life, I just imagine Tom Savini would become some massive creature
rat
thing. Yeah, why not? Some gross creature would just come out of him.
I mean, have you seen the series?
No, I haven't. Apparently, season 1's actually quite good, but
I've only seen the first season.
Yeah, apparently.
But they go into the sort of Aztec culture a lot more, so you get a lot more sort of history with the vampires and the Aztec mythology and things like that. And I think they did 3 seasons before it. I think it got cancelled, but yeah, I've only seen the first one, and I did enjoy it actually. They changed the characters slightly, to make it work for the series. But I really enjoyed what I saw of it.
Yeah.
I just never got round to the sort of seeing the rest.
So does it follow on from the movie, or
no? It's complete.
It's a
retelling.
restart. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a complete retelling.
Makes sense.
Yeah, because I don't think from what I remember, Richie's not quite as psychotic as.
Sure.
I think he's still a psycho.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's quite as grubby. I'm not sure he's a sex offender.
Okay.
Can't quite. As I said, it's been a while since I've seen it. But what I remember, he's not quite as bad.
Cool. Well, so obviously, as you said, Santanico transforms into this. Yes, it is. It's very serpentine kind of.
It's a snake. She's clearly a snake.
A snake vampire.
Even her fangs, when she opens her mouth, you can see that it's almost sort of mostly gums and snake fangs.
Yeah. And
I mean, the effects house. Good lord,
it's
absolutely pull a blinder off in this movie. The vampire designs are fucking.
It's
awesome.
so awkward watching this movie because the practical effects are so good. The morph effects are so bad. Like, because they've just dated. They've just dated. The morph effects are just dated really badly.
Yeah, some of the melty scenes are a bit.
Yeah. And the transformations, like even here, Salma Hayek's transformation is, oh, that's such an awkward morph. But of course, morphs were the thing at the time. It was a big, you know, after Terminator 2, everyone's like, oh my god, like we could do this, and you can, and it's fine, and it looked fine at the time. It's just looking back on it now, it's like, oh, those are awkward. But the practical effects, good god, super.
There were 6 full suits, which were obviously used again and again for various shots. So they had 6 of them. And the one I like, which I've never... So there's one that has a mouth in her stomach.
Yeah.
Who's like really, really gross. She's like all sort of like...
Yeah, you see her in a couple of wide shots, don't you?
Yeah. Apparently, I've not seen it, but there is a scene where she forces someone's head into her
amazing
stomach mouth.
Was it like a delete
taken
scene,
off? Or? Apparently, Tarantino was so disgusted by the shot that he took it out.
Oh.
So I think it still exists on I think some copies, but YouTube. I don't have a copy with that.
No.
That shot, which I really want to see it. And I tried to see if it was on YouTube, but I couldn't find it on YouTube. But I really wanted to see that shot. And there was actually another thing with the green blood and the black blood.
Yeah.
Apparently they chose that to get around the censors, but
the same as Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2 is the same.
Yeah, but I also think, but we've seen shitloads of red blood splattered everywhere already.
From humans,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
but isn't it usually with those censors? It's like you get to a point, and I guess maybe they pushed it to that point, and then they were like, okay, we can't go anymore, so we'll have to do, you know.
I mean, it's kind of, you know, the sort of thing they did, a similar thing they did with Kill Bill when we covered that. We talked about that.
Yeah, making it black and white, and
the black and white bit because it cuts down on the red gore, and you know you can slide it in past the censor, which is slightly baffling, but sure, if it works, it fucking works.
And with that, I really think is a great stylistic choice as well. Anyway, in Kill Bill. But so she bites Richie, and she really bites Richie. there is like gallons of blood.
Leaps on him, doesn't she?
Yeah. You know,
well, pretty much every girl, every member of the bar staff, they're all vampires. The band vampires.
Yeah, and suddenly they start playing with dead bodies all of a sudden, just magically.
Yeah, I know.
You never see how that happens. It just happens.
He's got that amazing guitar built out of a torso and a leg.
Yeah.
It's like, did you just build that, or did you have that hidden somewhere?
Yeah, and how does it work? Because you're still playing music.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she kills Richie, and Seth obviously shoots her off. But Richie, I think he says like 1 or 2 words on the floor before he bleeds out.
Yeah.
And then basically we see, as you said, the bartenders, the bouncers, people that have been shot. They start rising, and they're all these creatures, vampire creatures. And they lock the door and start basically attacking all the patrons.
Yeah, one of them says dinner is served.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I guess for the vampires, at least this time around, there's quite a few badasses in the room.
Yep.
I guess more than normal. And now I did wonder this.
Yep.
Like, how is this? Is this like a Blade situation where like every night they do this, or is it a thing where they do it occasionally and maybe only to a couple of people? Like if they went in and didn't cause trouble, would this have happened, or did it happen? Or did because obviously they expose it, but would it have happened anyway? I've always wondered that. It's the kind of stupid thing you think in your head when you're watching a movie. I'm like, would this have happened if they?
Yeah, I mean, this is being a lover of.
It's a pub discussion.
Yeah, so I've thought about this too.
Yeah,
and the thing is right. One,
there's a lot of trucks that are abandoned, and
the population of this.
They'd have to have some people survive, because otherwise you'd never make money.
Yeah, well, also. The population of vampires in this place is huge. There are loads of them, and I mean
Yeah.
Loads of them.
Like
Because
more,
they're even
probably more
pulling-
than patrons, I think.
Yeah. So the amount of blood you would need for all of those things, it must happen every night. But if it happened every night, then it would. I think people would have heard about it. You know what I mean? It's like it would have.
Yeah. Well, I guess no one would hear about it. I don't know. Because of course, at the end,
Yeah,
we see that
truckers
Carlos
and bikers in mass quantity are going missing, and they're all going to Mexico. You know what I mean? I think it would be noticed.
Well, yeah. I don't know.
But for the purposes of the film, no one cares.
Yeah, especially when it's clear because they're stealing all of the stock as well.
Yeah.
So it's like you know.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
yeah, I don't think this is a sort of a thing that you could
most
sustain
people
for
should
very
think
long.
about. No, it's not. It's not a good business model.
No.
So yes. Anyway, so they all transform into creatures, and we have a big fight. Sex Machine gets his whip out, gets his gun out, and what's his name? I had his name earlier. Now it's gone from my brain. Frost, yes. Frost starts kicking ass and nailing suckers to table legs, and
I love that he turns the table over.
He just does 4 of them.
4 vampires on each
So
leg, which is great. And then you get a Sex Machine taking out a load of them with pool cues.
Yeah,
which is fantastic. And of course, Razor Charlie attacks him. And I always thought Razor Charlie goes out a bit too quickly. I think there is because from what I gather, there's so much that they unused footage. I think there was about 2 hours of unused footage. So they filmed a lot, and I've got a feeling that somewhere there's a cut where Razor Charlie and Sex Machine have a proper, fight, because it feels he basically just knocks him down with the whip and then stakes him on the table, which is cool.
It's quite anticlimactic. It's a cool shot, but it's quite anticlimactic. Yeah. And I always, it's weird watching this movie. I always thought in my head that Salma Hayek's character, because she acts like she's like the queen or something.
Yeah.
And I always expected her to come back. I was like, I don't think she's dead.
I did too.
She'll come back somehow. She'll be like the big bad at the end. But it's like, no, she's dead. And then with Danny Trejo's character, it's like, oh no, he's dead. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, I guess.
I mean, I think that obviously. In the series, Santanico is one of the main characters. So
sure.
They don't take her out in the bar. I think that because she obviously goes on to be
a thing, yeah,
a bigger thing. Incidentally, have you seen the sequel and prequel?
Shite.
Yeah, I've only seen the prequel. I never saw this. I've never seen the sequel.
It's not very good. It's a one and done, really.
Yeah, the prequel was okay.
I mean, they're not like
sort of enjoying it, but
yeah,
I couldn't tell you any fucking details about it.
No,
other than it was all right.
Yeah, so they managed to fend off and kill most of the vampires.
Yeah. And I like that you get that Salma Hayek knocks Seth down, and it's like he shoots her and she gets back up. She knocks him down, and he's desperately trying to reload his revolver.
Yeah.
While she goes on. She's
about monologuing.
I am going to make you. Yeah, you're going to be my new dog. You're going to be I will turn you, and you will only feed on the blood of dogs. You're going to be my pet. I am going to call you Spot. You will lick the shit off my boot heels. And she is, welcome to slavery. And she transforms again. And he's like, no thanks, I've already got a wife. And he shoots the chandelier above her.
Yeah.
Which is a cool shot because he shoots past her. She looks up and the chandelier comes down and like you said, it's cool, but it's slightly anticlimactic. It's like, oh, she's already dead.
Yeah, I always expected her to reform or something, or something would happen. Because it almost feels like at the point when the doors open later and all the bats come in, it almost feels like that would be the point at which the dead ones come back again. And it, like, they're not dead. They're going to reform, and only sunlight will kill them ultimately, or so, you know, something like that, where it would be like, oh, we need to, you know, because then Danny Trejo's back and Salma Hayek's back, and you know, But anyway, that is not the case. Someone who is back though is Richie, who is now a vampire.
Yeah,
and they've done the typical thing that you would do if you were doing a monster Tarantino. They made his forehead even bigger. And I think his sex machine goes to kill him, right? And Seth immediately pulls a gun on him. He's like, get the fuck away from my brother.
Like, my brother, biker, I'll fucking put a hole in your head.
Yeah, and I think Frost is like, he's gonna kill us all, and he's like hold him, like,
yeah.
You know.
I think Jacob says, you know, he'll kill us all. It's we've got to do something. Is like he realizes, and he says, "Was it? I give you the peace in death that I couldn't give you in life." And he basically rams a pull you into it with his pistol.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the thing. He goes to the bar and he starts drinking. And he's like, so clearly we're dealing with vampires. Now, I don't believe in vampires, but I think we can all agree that what I've just seen are fucking vampires.
Yeah, and I like the pastor's like, you know, are you okay? And he's like, I'm just peachy. I just killed my vampire brother. But you know, aside from that,
and he says, so what do we know about vampires? And he's like, well, they seem squishy and stuff, and they die pretty easy with stakes and things.
Yeah, I love that as well, because that's the thing you think early on. You're like, well, what are they made of? Like fucking polystyrene? Like they're like, this is crazy. But they do point it out. They're like, no, for some reason their skin's really soft. And he's like, you know, you could just rip their head off. Like they're really.
And I think you get the mention of silver. It's like, no, that's werewolves. Like,
oh yeah, they start arguing over it, and then Kate's like, "Has anyone got any silver?" And they're like, "No." And they're like, "Well, then who cares?" Like, it's pointless.
Oh, and you do again. You get that really cool one with before that bit with the Chet pussy chasing Kate down over the bar, and he has that line about, you know what they say about me, I suck.
Yeah.
And Kate puts her cross in his mouth.
Yeah.
That's. You get the really cool, melty practical.
It's great.
Like, and then at the end you get a bit of a morph thing, don't you? Which, like you said, doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
But you get some really.
The practical is fantastic in this movie, though.
Yeah, it's so good. And even the puppets. One of my favourite one is there's one that, well, there's two. There's one that they try and close the door that comes through later in a bit.
Yeah.
But there's one that comes down who's like a full-on bat. It's like got bat wings, and he's so so goofy, but really fucking cool. He's like he comes, he drops from upside down, and he's sort of like flapping about. It's like it's like really goofy, but really fucking cool. So yeah, they basically, they decided that they're definitely vampires. This is what's happening. They got to deal with them.
Well, yeah, and then they realize that the patrons that have been killed are going to come back now as well, so they start taking them out.
Yeah.
And Kate kind of struggles, doesn't she? She's thinking about staking this guy, and she can't quite bring herself to do it.
Yeah.
Sex Machine, meanwhile, is just coming around murdering every one of them, one after another. I think they at this point hear they can hear the bats outside, can't they? This is the point where they're like, "What is that noise?"
What is
like,
that noise?
Bats.
So it's like,
so they now know they can't open the door effectively.
Yeah. When you get the shot that outside with the like massive swarm of bats going around the thing, and again you do think, fucking hell, what is the population of vampires in this fucking place? It's going to be huge.
Yeah, because I can't imagine they travel that far that quickly. So but you do see that there is that whole Aztec Mayan pyramid thing. So I guess they're all coming from.
For them. There's
I guess
enough
they're
room
coming
for
from
them, but
that.
the amount of blood they would need would be ridiculous.
I wonder whether they like this is like no one cares about this shit, but I wonder whether they go into like hibernating cycles. So some of them hibernate while some of them, so there's like a rotation.
Yeah, that would work.
But yeah, I don't think you're meant to think about it too much. Not as much as we
clearly
do.
not. It's not that movie.
But again, it's that kind of movie you used to talk about in the pub. You used to be like, how does this work? And then you kind of make it work. You kind of come up with theories as to how these things function. So anyway, while they're murdering the rest of the vampires, Sex Machine gets bitten on the arm.
Yeah.
But he hides it from the others. And I love so Frost starts telling this bloody war story.
Yep.
To the group, and he's going on and on and on about this Nam story.
How loads of people with a knife.
Yeah, how he murdered a load of people. And I love Tom Savini as Sex Machine transforming and realizing he's transforming, but trying to hide it.
Yeah, he puts his leather jacket on to hide the bite, doesn't he? And he's sort of sat there, and he can hear whispers.
Yeah, oh yeah, he hears the whispers first, doesn't
like,
he? Yeah,
kill them all. And he's like, and I love that. He first of all he sort of starts feeling around his mouth, and then he opens his mouth, and he puts his tongue on these like fangs, and I love the overly squishy sound of his tongue hitting as his tongue hits the and he puts his hand over his mouth,
and then his hand changes.
His hand changes. His fingers elongate.
And I love that he hides it, and Scott looks around, and he's just doing this really awkward smile at him, like, "Oh, hi."
Yeah. And Frost is still going on, and I love the way Sex Machine's fingers come over his shoulders, like little dancing fingers over his shoulders.
Yeah, it's like a spider, like crawling up. Yeah.
And he just chows down on poor old Frost.
Yeah, he bites him in the neck. He also bites Jake on the arm after that.
Yes.
And Frost is like, oh, Sex Machine, let's have this fight, and they go at it, and Sex Machine runs at Frost, and then Frost just throws him into the door.
Yeah.
The door explodes, and I love that, like, he throws him into the door explodes open, the bats come through, and it's like one shot where it comes back, and then he turns around, and now he's changed. He
is the quickest person to change in this movie.
I guess it makes sense. He was bitten in the neck. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because Richie changed pretty fast as well, and he was bitten in the neck, so I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because Jake says in a minute, he's like, well, I've probably got like an hour at most, and I guess he's thinking I got bit in the arm, not.
Yeah, it could be location.
Although no, actually no, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense, because Sex Machine got bitten in the arm and he changed pretty much immediately as well. Who knows? Who cares? It's fine. Whatever. Thinking too much.
Maybe it's just a constitutional thing. Maybe
because he's a man of God.
The Constitution was just really rubbish, actually.
Or maybe it takes longer if you're a man of God, as Jake has now become again.
And again, another possibility.
Yeah. Anyway, we're making excuses. This is a great movie. I don't really care.
So we did also forget the one with Frost where he takes out the heart of the
oh god, yeah, he rips out the heart, and then Sex Machine stabs the heart
with the pencil.
Yeah,
I love that. It's so good because he does that, like the kung fu take the heart out of the guy as he goes past, and he keeps coming, and they have that sort of almost comical
realization.
Like, from Shaun of the Dead, where they're beating him with like table legs and stuff.
Yeah,
and he keeps going, and I like the way Sex Machine just looks over, and there's like a tray with a pencil and like a pad on it, and he just picks up the pen and goes squish, and immediately I love the way he immediately just drops. It's just brilliant. So bats swarm in. Shitloads of more vampires come in. Jake
gets stuck under the bar, and the rest of them run to the back, right?
Yeah.
So they run into this cellar area, or like down a hallway.
Yeah, like some sort of storage room.
And they discover the storage. That's right. They've got the storage from all of the trucks.
Yeah.
So basically, as they've been murdering people, they've been storing all of their gear back there.
Yeah.
Kate wants to go back out and get her dad. But Seth says he's almost certainly dead. Meanwhile, Jake is under the bar and he makes a cross out of a baseball bat and a shotgun, which Scott pointed out earlier. Scott's like, there's crosses everywhere. All we need is 2 sticks, right? And I love that Sex Machine's like, oh yeah, Peter Cushing does that all the time. He obviously makes the cross, and I love when he comes up from the bar. They all knew he was there.
Yeah,
because they're all just stood there staring at him. But I love he's got this cross / shotgun, and he's like putting up the sign of the cross and then occasionally shooting one.
Yep.
But he makes it. He makes his way down there to the door, and he
massively lucky that particular shotgun had the loop handle. Pump.
Yeah. That
is not standard issue on shotguns.
No, but this is a film with a gun penis, so I think standard went out the window a long time ago. So he makes it.
That gun is from Desperado, you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's in the case in Desperado.
Yeah. Well, it's too awesome a prop to not be used.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why not?
I'm surprised it's not turned up in more things, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually. So he makes it to the door. He bangs on the door, and Seth ultimately lets him in. And he asks if he's been bitten, and Jake's like, "Yes, I've been bitten." And he says, I've not got long. He said, "We've got 2 options. Either 3 options. You either kill me now, or you leave me to turn, and I turn against you, and then you kill me, or we go out there and you use me now to kill as many as we can." And they discuss a plan, and they say, well, this is where they store all the stuff from the truckers, so I guess we'll see what we've got here, because it's not going to be long before they break that door down.
He does make Scott and
I think he does that just as they're leaving, doesn't he?
Well, he makes them. Is it? Yeah, you might be right.
I think it's just as they're about to go through the door. He's like promised, and then he's like, "I didn't."
Oh yeah, they tool up first. Yeah.
Yeah. So they tool up and make ludicrous. Well, most of the Seth makes this ludicrous, pneumatic.
It's a drill, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a big, or like I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's like a jackhammer, right?
Yeah, it's a jackhammer that he basically sticks a stake in.
Puts a stake in, so it's like a pneumatic stake. It's ridiculous.
It's a really cool pump action crossbow.
Kate does, yeah, and then
Scott gets
like super soakers and
You do think, like, so when he opens that thing, there are loads of super soakers in there. They should have all taken them.
I would have.
Because that holy water is really fucking potent.
Well, yeah. I guess they were hedging their bets just in case, Jake's pastor powers have run out.
Yeah.
Especially since he was only just really became a pastor again in the last 5 minutes and is now a vampire.
He's found his faith again.
It's like, I'm not sure I totally trust it, but yes. So yes, as you said, they tool up, and then Jake makes them promise. Of course, Seth promises immediately. So yeah, I promise.
No problem. I can do
that. Kate and Scott agree, but seem unsure.
Yeah.
And he makes them promise. He's like, "Look, I'll kill myself right now if you don't." And so they do. They swear to God, don't they? I think.
Yeah.
That they will do what they have to do. So they head out, and big fight happens. Seth said we get Sex Machine is still alive, so Seth faces off against Sex Machine.
Sex Machine is still around at this point.
Yep.
Is it Seth pulls Sex Machine's head off with the whip?
Yes, with the save from Kate with the crossbow.
Yeah.
Doesn't she shoot him and then he?
No. She shoots him when he's turned, because So she
Yeah,
Seth
because
takes
he's
off
about
the
to kill. That's right. He's about to kill Seth, isn't he? Then she shoots him.
Yeah, but before that, he takes.
Oh, yeah,
off
that's
the,
when he's the monster, isn't it? You're right. Sorry. Yeah. So
he takes his head
so
off,
Seth
and then
takes his
becomes
whip. Seth takes his whip.
Yeah.
Whips it around his neck, pulls his head off. Then he becomes the cool creature thing. This like rat, like
like a giant rat sort of
fetus thing.
Yeah, yeah, which is so cool.
It's a great It's great.
It's a really good
amazing.
fucking puppet thing. It's just amazing.
And yeah, you're right. Sorry, she gets him to look up. She like whistles or something, doesn't she? And he looks up and pushes the head of the creature up, and she shoots him in the face.
Yep,
with the crossbow.
Frost gets taken out by Jacob, who
does the cross. Yeah,
sticks his shotgun in through him.
Yes, and then starts shooting other people with it.
Yeah, and I love that he used the thing that always makes me laugh is there's this massive guy. He's stuck with the shotgun in him. He's using him to pump the gun and shoot vampires behind him, right?
Yeah.
But not once does he attempt to do anything to Jacob.
No.
It's just like the shock of him doing it. It's just there watching him.
Yeah.
And eventually he sort of like melts, doesn't he? He sort of.
Yeah.
Just when you think he's about to do something, he goes all gooey.
Jake eventually turns, and is
and I love that the way they do that is really cool because you've got like a bunch of vampires in front of him, and he's taking them out, and then he stops.
Yeah.
And the vampires in front of him basically just step back and walk and step away from him, and just like immediately oh yeah, he's turned.
Yeah, and you get that great shot because obviously Scott's reluctant, but he eventually kills him with the holy water. But that half face, is such a cool shot.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
But yeah, so he does ultimately do as he promised, and he does kill his father, who kind of explodes from the holy water. But he is then torn apart by vampires, right? Scott's attacked by vampires. He's kind of held there, and
screaming at Kate to kill him.
Yeah.
And Kate hesitates way too much.
She does.
It's her little brother, and she's clearly traumatized. But it's like, for fuck's sake, shoot him! Hurry up! Poor bastard.
Well, when she shoots him, I assume she hits one of the holy water bombs because they explode.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a big explosion. I'm guessing that was due to holy water, but
yeah, that would be my guess as well.
Yeah, because it is like a proper explosion. But yeah, so now it's it's only Kate and Seth right now.
Yep, just those two left
fighting, and they make a hole at one point through the door, and they see that sunlight's coming through. And then Carlos starts banging on the door, and he's like, "Oh, hey, I'm here to see my friend Seth."
Yeah.
And Seth's like, shoot through the door, break the door. So Carlos's men start shooting the door. Sunlight comes in. Seth and Kate escape, and then for no reason whatsoever, the mirror ball just starts turning and turns on, and everyone dies.
Well, I think the mirror ball was already on.
Was it already spinning? Because it looks like it starts spinning just randomly.
I always presumed that it was just already just going.
It would make more sense if it was already going, but yes, and then the whole room kind of explodes. Then obviously from the mirror ball, and we get another shot of a building kind of explodey from outside. Seth punches Carlos in the face.
Yeah. Why the fuck did you pick this place?
Yeah, and Carlos is like, I don't know. He's like, well, have you never been here before? He's like, no, just
one place as good as any.
Yeah.
And I love the way he says, what were they, psychos? And Seth says, psychos do not explode when sunlight hits them.
Yeah.
I don't care how fucking crazy they are. Of course, they were fucking vampires.
He should know. Yeah, so he says, like, because of you, my brother's dead. And Carlos is like, well, what do you want me to do about it? And he says, right, it's a percentage, basically. I can't remember. Is it 25% they get to in the end?
Yeah, I think they agreed to
And Carlos gives him a car, like a Porsche.
Yeah, he says, I said brand new. This is not brand new. He says, hey, the guy owned it for like 15 years and he only drove it 14 times or something.
Yeah, it was like a drug dealer's car, wasn't it?
Yeah, or he only owned it for a year and he only drove it 15 times or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like practically.
So obviously Carlos wants Seth to come to El Rey to finish this deal. Seth goes to speak to Kate. He gives Kate a load of cash.
Want your money?
She says, "Hey, do you want some company?"
Yeah.
And Seth's like, "I'm an asshole. I'm not a fucking asshole."
No, it's my favourite line. I've used it. I've used it on occasion. He says, "Kate, I'm a bastard. I'm not a fucking bastard."
Right. Yeah.
I love that line. For some reason, that line has always stuck with me. I really like it.
And he tells her to go home.
Yeah.
And he drives off.
Yeah, he drives off, and she drives off in the RV.
I've got to be honest with you. I always think whenever I watch that scene, I'm like, there's a lot of really cool trucks and bikes and stuff there. I feel like if I was going to leave in anything, I wouldn't have got back in the RV. I would have been like, well, I'm going to get a Harley out of this. Like at the very least.
You have to go back into the bar and get the keys.
That's true. Yeah.
That might take forever.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, you'd hope them to pick something else, wouldn't you? But yeah, I think you're right. I'd probably go for a Harley.
I'd probably end up being killed by a vampire afterwards by coming back in the bar to get the keys for the Harley. But you know.
Yeah.
And then of course as the film comes to an end, we get this great, ridiculous but great zoom as we zoom out and we see that the bar is actually you basically have the car park, the bar, then a sheer drop on either side, and this huge ancient pyramid thing.
Yeah, Aztec pyramid, just sort of there at the back.
Yeah,
surrounded by like smashed up cars and trucks and.
Yeah, it turns out the bar was situated on top of a giant matte painting.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. I love that shot. It's so ridiculous, but so great.
It's so cool.
And yeah, that's the end of From Dusk Till Dawn. Just ludicrous movie, but so much fun.
Oh, absolutely.
The epitome of like style over substance, and you know, it's got some interesting themes though. You know, you've got the loss of faith, and you know, dealing with loss and that kind of stuff. It's just all done amongst this ludicrous story.
Yeah. And ludicrous
over-the-top action and violence.
Yeah, which I think, you know, one of the best things about it is that it, like I said before, it does. At no point does it not go, oh, this is happening now. Isn't this silly?
No,
it takes it seriously. I mean, sure, there are funny moments and there are funny bits.
Yeah.
That are silly. And you've got the fourth wall break, but it's taken seriously for what it is. You know, it doesn't change the overall tone that much.
No,
really.
No.
I should also point out that Santanic Pandemonium is the name of a movie. It's a nunsploitation movie, which I've never actually seen. It's 1975, I think it came out. But yeah, never seen it. But yeah, no. That's where they took that name from.
Right. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this movie, and it is one. I'm not going to pretend like, oh, I haven't seen this one since the 90s. I've seen this movie plenty, and so I hadn't watched it for a good few years, but I knew it still held up. It wasn't like a shock to me that this movie still held up. I've seen it enough, enough recently to know that it still absolutely holds up. It's an absolutely great fun. You know, it doesn't outstay its welcome. It's just long enough.
It's peak 90s. You know, Tarantino action, you know, sort of throwback 70s style stuff. You know, it's that thing that they brought to the 90s. It's you know, perfectly fits in with all those movies. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just with the horror twist.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is a superb film. It you know, it's as your mum discovered, it's not going to be for everyone.
Yeah, no, my mum hated it.
I think if you like over the top horror movies, and if you like, particularly, I think it's safe to say that if you like Rodriguez's movies, you're gonna like it.
Yeah,
it's very much that. Yeah, great fun.
Just turned up a notch, I guess. Is
yeah.
You know just because of the horror, it's that little bit extra.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that was From Dusk Till Dawn. Absolutely recommended. Great fun. And yeah, we'll be back next week. Find some new films to talk about and review. I will have watched Dune 2 by next time.
I'm hoping for that as well.
Cool. That'd be good. We can have a good chat about it.
Yeah.
But yes, until next time, stay safe, take care, and yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.